Welcome to this video where you will learn how to create a Python project that will sort your folder for you. The format of this video will be pretty simple. At the very beginning, I will tell you what the project should do and how it works, and then I will go on to show the code that I did. Instead of me just randomly showing myself typing some code, I will instead show and explain each part of the code one by one. So the idea of this script is to take a folder and go through each of the file types inside that folder and output a beautifully organized folder where each file type is in its own folder. So all the files that are PNGs will end up in a folder called PNG, and so on. The main keyword topics of this project are as follows: caller dispatch, which is using a dictionary to run functions dynamically, recursively crawling a directory, copying and moving files, and using command line arguments using the system module. So to start this project off, you'll need to import the required modules. We will be importing OS, shuttle, and sys. So I'll start this off by creating a function called sort directory, which will be given the directory we want to sort, and it will take the extra parameter function, which will be depending on whether I want to copy files or just move them. And this function parameter is the one that will be utilizing caller dispatching. So to start off, I want to make sure that the directory we have is a valid directory, and if it's not, we will just exit out of the function and return 1 to say that we failed. So what we want to do is go through this directory recursively using the os.walk function, and this os.walk will return the root, the directories, and the files for that specific location. And root will be the directory that we are currently crawling. Directories will print out the subdirectories of this current root directory, and files are each individual file that's inside this current root directory. And from these, we will be using root and files. And for each of these files that we find in the current root directory, we want to loop through them. And what we want to do is get the name and extension using the os.path.splitText function. And we will give the file to this, which will return the name and extension. And from this extension, we want to remove the dot, so we will use splicing to get everything except for the first character. We also want to make sure that wherever we are moving or copying these files to, that directory exists. So we have to check that, and if it doesn't exist, we want to create that directory. In my case, I have coded the output directory to be called out. So what we want to do is make sure that a correct output folder exists for our file type, which is the extension. And if it doesn't exist, we want to create this folder named after our extension inside our output directory. We also want to make sure that the file we're trying to move doesn't already exist in the output folder. And if this file already exists, we want to count how many total duplicates there are for this file so we can name it appropriately. So what we want to do is iterate through each file in the correct output directory, and we want to make sure that this file, excluding anything after the underscore, does not have the same name as the file we're moving or copying. This part looks really confusing, but bear with me here. Because the possible names are of the format name, underscore, count, and then the extension, we need to first split it into name and extension. And now we will get a list with the name and the extension. But the name will be of the format name, underscore, number. So we take the first element of this list, which will be our name, but now this name has the wrong format. It has the underscore and 3, and that's what we don't care about. So we go ahead and split it using the underscore. And now we get a list with the name and the number. And now because the name could have an underscore that has nothing to do with the number and is part of the name, and we want to take every element that is not the number, which is our last element, and join them using an underscore. And if they are equal, we want to add 1 to the counter. This way we will loop through all the files and get a count of how many of them are named after this. Then we'll create an outFile variable which will store the new name that we should give our file. And this new name will be of the format name, underscore, and the count of how many times it appeared. And if there are no duplicate files, we'll just give it the same name. Then for user purposes, I will print out what file we're moving and where we're moving it to, so the user can get a small idea of where the program is currently. I will then be using the function, which will be either shuttle.move or shuttle.copy, and give it the parameter of what we're moving and where we're moving it to. And if nothing fails, we should return 0 to show that we have succeeded. I will now define a main function that will do the main part of the program. I will then create a function dictionary which stores the function choices for moving or copying. And we will call this by using M for moving and C for copying. I will declare the variable flag as shuttle.copy unless something else is given to the script. If the length of the system arguments is 3, meaning that the user inputted a directory and also gave an option for which function to use, we will now check the argument that the user gave to declare which function they want to use. And we will check that this is a valid function. So we're expecting the first letter to start with M or C. And if this is a valid argument, we will then overwrite the flag variable with the correct function, whether it be move or copy. And if it's not a valid argument, we will inform the user and return 1 for failure. We will then check if the system arguments are only 1 or more than 3, and we will tell the user that they have inputted the wrong amount of arguments. We're expecting 2 or 3 arguments, and then we will again return 1 for failure. And from this main function, we will be returning the value that we received from sort directory, 1 meaning it failed, 0 meaning it succeeded. Then to finish off the program, we will just call main. And now the program should be ready to be run from the command line. The GitHub link for this code will be in the description below. And I hope this video was somewhat helpful to any of you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.